So I went on my travels with my lad, and one of my personal aims for the exercise was to visit a few vintage toy stores. And here you can see the Vintage Toy Exchange in Matlock, which I hit on a Sunday afternoon. Obviously all these stores change their stock very frequently, so this is literally just a little snapshot of the front window here. And there were various ages represented here. It wasn't all as retro as I thought it might have been, but there was some nice old original Star Wars stock, and I picked up this Bionicle set because I've never done a Bionicle set before, so I'm going to look at that in due course on the channel. And then we went somewhere where I wasn't actually expecting to find a toy store, which was in the National Film and Sci-Fi Museum. And as you can see from the frontage, this is dedicated to various items of film and sci-fi memorabilia, largely British focus. You can't take many pictures inside it, but to my surprise, as we were going into it, the foyer was full of old toys. You can see here coming up the stairs, there was an A10 Thunderbolt / Warthog hanging from the ceiling, but there was also a display cabinet full of ancient Star Wars toys, to my bemusement. Galaxy Class Enterprise there, Naboo Starfighter, TIE Fighters, Squadrons various. But my eye was obviously drawn to the toys because this was one of the things I wasn't aiming to visit here for toys, but they had toys. So they're a £300 land speeder, which may or may not still be there. Transformers I could see from my vantage point on the stairs as well. And a Vorcha class attack cruiser there, which I've got, played by Playmates, various Thundercats toys from the original era, Robotech toys, Stargate badges, turtles, all sorts of stuff, Micro Machines there, and lots of Transformers, so Ultra Magnus, Thrust, Twin Twist, Pretenders I never owned, Paraglide, G1 Transformers, Sea Spray, Cyclonus, Background Ultra Magnus, Blur, Wheelie, Beachcomber, Bumblebee, Defensor, Rodimus Prime, just Metroplex was in there as well, somehow smaller than I remember him. Just shed loads of really nice stuff that I was not expecting to find. So Scorponok down there on the left, another G1 Transformer, huge guy, very difficult to find in the UK from what I remember. So various Star Wars original generation figures here, like I used to have when I was little, that got disappeared. Cardboard Death Star was in the back there as well, which I believe is also unusual and rare. But just sort of all sorts of little twin pods there that I had when I was little. The TIE Fighters I was talking about, better shot of the Enterprise D. Stargate patches. What's next? And the displays themselves are really good. I wasn't allowed to say, can't take pictures in there, but well worth a visit if you're of my sort of era and you enjoy anything of a science fiction nature. Red Horn the Terrible. Now I loved Zoids. I had lots of Zoids as I was coming through, and I remember very distinctly making him in Jersey, strangely enough. And I was actually going to see him later on in the holiday. Twin Pod I've got still. Bespin Slave 1 obviously, very popular at the moment because of the Mandalorian. We've seen her recently. Land Speeder I also used to have, not sure if I still have it. But of my Star Wars toys, these small die-cast models were the ones that survived, that I retained. I also had this Darth Vader TIE Fighter. I remember that very, very well, with the electronics on it as well. So just incredible memories. For me, the foyer was as much a part of the museum as what was in the museum. It was great. This huge Unicron, which I knew existed, but I'd never seen in the flesh before. This turned out to be a Megatron, which my son had his eye on, but we didn't end up getting. Now the Leicester Vintage and Old Toy Shop. This was where I was aiming to get all the time I was down south, because they have a very active YouTube channel. They've done a series called Toy Shop on Tour, and when I was convalescing from COVID at one point, I watched all of the Toy Shop on Tour videos pretty much over the course of a day as I was getting better. It's run by two guys called Joe and Gav, who have a team supporting them as well. And they are lovely, lovely blokes. And they went around the country in this van, which is very nicely decked out with all their sort of logos and so on. So you know exactly who it is who's come calling. And they have very regular update videos on YouTube that tell you the new stock that they've got in. And they just have the most fun going around and seeing other people's collections, going to fairs, you know, identifying stuff that they know they need or that others will want. They clean them up and then obviously sell them on in the store ultimately. But they're clearly doing it because they love the toys of this particular era, and they are sort of, all of these shops tend to have a slightly different focus to one another. These guys are sort of 80s, 70s, 80s, not so much 90s, but maybe edging into that now. Other stores are more of a broader range, or they focus on computers. Now, here we go. So Transformers, Optimus Prime, in a box. Worth saying, stuff that isn't in a box is a lot cheaper than stuff that is in a box, because it's stuff that is in a box is far more collectible. It's worth more to collectors. So if you actually want cheap old toys, come to a shop like this and get loose toys from them, because they're actually cheaper than modern box toys on the shelf. You know, even in the days of Amazon, getting loose toys from here that have been cleaned up and in really good nick, it's really good in hard times. This is a good place to come. And you can see here, that Jetfire, several £100s. I had him, I loved him, I sold him by selling separate armour pieces on eBay and then the actual Jetfire, because he was slightly yellowy, but that is crispy white and that is several £100s in a box, and I completely understand why. There's Bruticus on the far right there, there's Defensor on the left, Galvatron's there. I actually picked up a Cosmos from there, which I'll show you in another video. Seaview, Cylon Raider. That Fisher-Price probe up top left immediately rang something in my memory, and I think a friend had that, or maybe a white version of it. I need to do some research on that, but I remember that really distinctly. And it's got that astronaut that's connected by an air hose back to the ship, as if they're doing a spacewalk. So that really took me back. As soon as I saw that, I thought, yeah, I know that one. As you can see, I took a slightly closer up version of it here, so we'll see some more Transformers along that shelf. I mean, just to actually look at what is physically in this store is going to take you hours. I must have been in there for 2 or 3 hours. Unfortunately, my lad was very good, and he quietly played with a couple of Transformers, and they were really good with him as well. I was absolutely gibbering because I thought at any moment he's going to drop something and I'm going to end up paying for it. But in fairness to him, he didn't. He was really careful. But it isn't one for small kids to be taken around because they can't really touch much. This is the Jerry Anderson display. As you can see, a couple of Eagles there, UFO interceptors, Dinky Corgi era sort of toys, Spectrum Pursuit vehicle, a proper version of the Shadowmobile, unlike the one that I have, which is a Battle King version. Superman's spaceship, which obviously is a oxymoron, but anyway. So Batmobiles, Batboats, Bat everything, you know, all of that sort of stuff from that sort of era, very much my era. Terrorhawks. Now, these have been on the online store for a little while now, I know, because I was looking at them. I can't afford them, but I did have them, and they do really take me back. And the Battlehawk set you can see there, it's die-cast. It's a really solid toy. And it comes with a little miniature battle tank, a little miniature Terrorhawk that sits on the top of the Battlehawk, which is its docked position. Really nice toys. By Bandai, I think. Now, you'll have seen some of this on my channel, which obviously I've bought from eBay as sort of job lots before now. Britain Space. Nice examples here. They're slightly later. The white Britain Space toys are slightly later than the original green and yellow ones that you can see there. Some of those I have, some of those you can see in a video on the channel. But really nice to see them though, sort of somewhere other than on eBay, and of course they're boxed, so they're undoubtedly worth more than the ones I've got, which are just loose. This you will see a video of in due course, because those Tenteis are things that they're construction sets, but not like Lego. They're quite different, but they are I need to do a little bit of research on them, but I have really distinct childhood memory of playing with a Tente set at a friend's house, and I had a particular one that wasn't there, but I've got one as an example. A couple of Lego sets in there, and weirdly that robot in the middle called Zeroids, which is odd because Zeroids are a Terrahawks thing. Back to Zoids again, you can see in the top right there that and there's Red Horn the Terrible actually made up out of a box, and that has to be somebody's collection of Zoids, I'm sure, because I mean there's a Trooper Zoid, Power Zoid, Spineback, Hellrunner, the Scavenger. I think there was a great Gorgon lurking in the back left corner as well. Scorpion Zoid, Troopers, no, not Trooper Zoid. There's another one at the back right that I kind of recognise, but all in really, really sort of lovely condition, you know. And here we have some more loose Transformers. This is one of the ones that my son was looking at in here, because again, just great if you want to just sort of walk in and just pick something up. You know, these aren't ridiculously expensive depending on their size, obviously, but still cheaper than buying new ones today. So if you've got a kid who just wants to play with something, you could do worse, because these are actually really good value for money at the end of the day, because they, you know, they are what they are, and if you're not too fussed about actually collecting them, just go in and have a look. I never had any of these, but these are Brave Star toys. Now, the other thing I should say about this section as well is that I actually saw some Jason the Wheeled Warriors toys, and I never knew they existed. I'd seen pretty much everything else in the store at one point or another, or I knew of its existence, but I have never seen Jason the Wheeled Warriors, and I can't remember at the minute if I actually took a picture of it. I'm now looking at some Starcom toys, and again it was a series I was familiar with but never actually bought any of, because at the end of the day you can only afford so much and you only have so much pocket money. So Starcom I did not get into, but I know of it. You got Rock Lords and GoBots up the top. I had a couple of GoBots, not many. A couple of GoBots. What else can you see there? A few more Transformers to the left there as well. And then you get into the sort of Marvel figure selection. I know they just had some Secret Wars. Secret Wars was a comic book series that ran for a while in the sort of Zoids kind of era. So I remember the Secret Wars storyline quite clearly with the Beyonder. And these are the figures that were the tie-in to that. But there's also others up, you know, around and about in that on those shelves as well. Now, these were tempting me. The Centurions, Power Extreme. Again, you will find the intro to this show, as with many of the others represented by these toys, on the channel. And Ace McCloud in the middle there, the blue guy with the wings. I had him, and I remember him being bigger, but that is him. But they were really solid action figures to play with. The one on the right is actually an enemy drone fighter, which got blown up very, very frequently. Here we've got quite an extensive Ghostbusters section, and then below were sort of more obscure ones that I'm not familiar with. But Joe and Gav are the two guys who run it. It's kind of Joe's store and Gav's his sort of best mate, and they're the guys who did the series. And it's quite funny because they've both got quite different tastes in what they like. So the store stock is a sort of reflection of both of their tastes combined, I think it's fair to say. Now, the Visionaries, they got in quite recently, I believe. And I have one of those. The guy who is the loose figure far right, I have an example of, I think, unless my son's got lost him at some point. I think he's called Sindar. And apparently he's one of their favourites. They quite like Sindar as a concept. So that made me smile, because they've just got them boxed as well, which is crazy. You know, these are 40-year-old toys and they've got them in boxes still, which is absolutely bonkers. But love being there. They were really good with my son. You know, lobbed me a bag, lobbed me a poster with Boba Fett on that someone's drawn for them. So really nice to finally get there, because I've been hoping to get there for quite a while. And I do recommend that you go and have a look. You can park it in John Lewis nearby really easily. So go and have a look. They've got graded figures in boxes and all sorts of stuff in there. So well worth a look if you have any interest whatsoever. So that was my little toy adventure. So I hope that's been of interest to you, and I will do some looks at the various bits and bobs that I did pick up in a future video. I didn't get loads, just to manage expectations, but some interesting little bits and pieces. My son picked out a couple of things as well, which I'll also share with you, because he's not around to complain that I can't. So there you go. Cheers for now.